Hey, what's going on there, people? It's Jay here, and today what we're going to be looking at is the iPad Mini 1, the iPad Mini 2, and the iPad Mini 4. Okay, so we have all three here. I bought my wife the iPad Mini original, I think 2 years ago for Christmas, and then I got myself the iPad Mini 2 after upgrading my original iPad Mini. I think that was probably about 1.5 years ago, maybe a little bit more than 1 year ago. And this is the bad boy that I just got her this year because we started seeing a lot of performance issues and a lot of issues with the original iPad Mini here. Okay, so basically I thought it would be great to have a video with all three of the iPads and just kind of look and see some of the differences in form factor and a couple of things about performance. You know, I'm not a big proponent of all the Geekbench stuff and all that kind of stuff that I've seen people do videos about in the past. I don't have any of those apps. I'm more of a real world type of person, and I see what I see. And, you know, the differences in the performance are obvious, you know, but she was really having a lot of lag issues with the original iPad Mini here. So obviously when you start having performance issues and it becomes really frustrating to use the device, it kind of outlives its purpose. The iPad Mini 1 featured an A5 chip, which I believe also came in the iPhone 5. It was based on the specs of the original iPad Mini, or I'm sorry, the iPad 2, which is still actually the most used iPad in the Apple stable. It was definitely a revolutionary device. It was the perfection of the iPad at the time. But from a standpoint of specifications, I felt like, you know, basically it's based on like 4 or 5 year old architecture, and it's just not good anymore. The iPad Mini 2 was a big step up. It featured an A7 chip, which was the first to feature 64-bit architecture, and was also featured in the iPhone 5S. This machine is actually still very relevant, I feel. I have no problems using this machine. It really does what I need it to do. Still has very snappy response. Another step up here, though, was the iPad Mini 4. Now, the difference between the A7 and the A8 chip, which is what is inside the iPad Mini 4, is pretty big. It has 2 full gigabytes of RAM, while this one has 1 gigabyte of RAM. And the 2 gigabytes of RAM really do make a big difference in the overall scope of things. Okay, but the first thing, now obviously these are 3 different devices, and what's funny is I just happened to buy all 3 different things. So I have a silver iPad Mini 1, I have the space gray 2, and the gold 4. As you can see with the 4, which I'm sure most of you guys are watching for, the gold is a really nice color, really is. I really enjoyed looking at it. Just a nice machine. Okay, now what I'll try to do here is I'll try to do a couple of speed tests. I won't belabor this because I think that most of you guys who are shopping for these already know speed is everything. Okay, so what I'll try to do is I'll look for Facebook and I'll close it out on all 3 devices. Now, this middle device is logged into mine, and the other 2 devices are my wife's stuff. So it's going to look a little bit different, but that's really the only issue. Now, obviously, there's one that we can do right there, though. You can see that the app switcher here on Mini 4, which is now even this, you see there's a little bit of lag. I don't know if you can tell. It still runs really well on the iPad Mini 2. But on the 1, I mean, it's like very, very choppy. Chop, 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 chop. You can see how much it's chopping through all of these apps. iPad Mini 2, there's still a little bit of chop, but it's still pretty quick, or still pretty smooth. But then you have the 4, and you see it's almost seamless. There's a little bit of chop when you really go fast, but for the most part, it's a lot faster than its predecessors, and it should be because it's got a full extra gigabyte of RAM in it. Okay, so I'm going to try to open Facebook here all at the same time, and we'll see what we get. So Facebook is loading, and obviously the 4 was much much before all the other ones. And then you have the 2 about 3 or 4 full seconds later, and look at the iPad mini 1. And there we go, it's loading. Even the pictures load a lot slower than everything else. Okay, so just that's a real world test right there. Opening Facebook from a closed state, you closed it out in the app switcher and you restarted it. You saw how long that took. When you hit the app, if you look really closely, see that lag? Here, there's no lag, it just immediately opens up. Here, there's really no lag, it just opens up. Okay, so I think that in and of itself is enough of a performance test for you guys to understand what's going on. Now, obviously, I'm going to try to get as good at this as possible, but the iPad mini 1 did not have a Retina display. And I'm trying to, you also see that's the window behind us reflecting the tree outside, okay? So you can see the reflection, so that's going to become an issue later on too. But you can see there's a fuzziness to the text especially, and you also have, that window behind, okay? Now the iPad mini 2 obviously featured a Retina display, so see if I can get that to focus there. So the text is much cleaner, really colors are better, and you can still see that window behind, okay? Now you go to the 4. We also obviously have a Retina display, and I don't know how well it's going to come across. I am shooting in 4K, but now check out that. There's a new coating on the screen of the iPad mini 4, which allows for a lot less of glare on the screen. So just to give you, see how much more it reflects on the iPad mini 2 than it does on the 4? It like barely reflects. Okay, that's actually a very big thing, because like if you're trying to read or you're trying to look at the iPad on the beach or something like that, you're going to have a problem doing that because the glare is usually so bad from the sun. The iPad mini 1, I think at this point, if you're in the market for an iPad, don't waste your money, okay? The iPad mini 2 and the 3, let me make a really quick thing about the 2 and the 3. So the iPad mini 2 and the iPad mini 3, from the standpoint of what's under the hood, are exactly the same. They have the same processor, and their performance often comes out exactly the same, okay? The only difference about the iPad mini 2 and 3 is that the 3 got Touch ID, which the 4 has, and it also comes in a gold color. And that's it. Everything under the hood, everything else about the iPad mini 3 is exactly the same as the iPad mini 2. So if you're looking for a really big bump in performance, you want to go to the 4. But let's take a look at the form factor of these two machines real quick. So the iPad mini 4 is thinner and taller than its predecessors, as you can see, okay? From the standpoint of buttons, you'll see that it is missing the toggle switch for mute or orientation lock. I feel like I very rarely use that button anyway, and I really didn't think that that was an issue at all. So you have, like I said, a machine that's a little bit taller and a little bit thinner than its predecessor. The last thing that I wanted to show you is the speakers. So what we'll do really quick is we'll go to YouTube on these two machines. So what we'll do real quick is I'll turn the volumes all the way up on these, because the speakers on the iPad mini 4 have gotten a lot better. So we'll test them really quick here.
Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? Welcome to another edition of Philly Brew Reviews.
So that is on the iPad mini 2, and here we're going to try it on the iPad mini 4.
Hey, What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome to another edition of Philly Brew Reviews.
So, as you can see, a lot bigger, or a lot bigger, a lot louder, okay? But I want you to look at another thing, too, at these two machines, okay? So, you have video on both ends. Now, I'm trying to shoot this in 4K on my iPhone 6S. And we're going to look at the two things. Now, if you can look at the ceiling here, where the neon light, you can see how it's kind of washed out up here. And I have the brightness all the way up on both of the machines. The skin tone is a little bit better. The red is definitely more red on this. You can just see the color schemes on these two machines. You can see the washing out here, and you can see the much better kind of overall, just much less. I mean, just looking at the Philly shirt here, you really have a washed out look to this, and this one is much more of a vibrant red. And again, I'm not really sure how well that's picking up, but I'm shooting it on the best video that I possibly can on the iPhone. So you can see the difference in these two machines. I mean, you can see the difference here. The difference is the proof is in, you know, what we're looking at right here. I mean, it's obvious. This is the same still from the same thing. They look not completely different, but a lot different. You can just see this general washed out haze here, and this one just looks a lot more vibrant color-wise. So really, you know, not to belabor any more points here, but I think that the obvious differences are there, and I think that for those of you who are really looking for, you know, the best device out there, the iPad Mini 4 is probably one of the best things I've ever seen produced by Apple. The iPad Mini overall, I've just liked the line very much, and I think that it's a perfect size for somebody who especially already has a laptop. You don't want that full-size experience. You want something really portable, and this one definitely fits the bill. So hopefully that helps you guys and lets you know about the differences between these three machines, and hopefully you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.